Good morning, mañana si zuus, zin buenas and half a day todos hamzu. On behalf of Vice Speaker Muña Barnes, and as a main sponsor of resolution number 203-36 LS, I call the virtual hearing on resolution number 203-36 to order. It is now 8:05 a.m. For the record, and in accordance with 5 GCA Chapter 8, subsection 8107, public hearing notices were sent on Friday, November 12, 2021, adhering to the 5 days notice, and a second public notice on Wednesday, November 17, 2021, 48 hours prior. In addition, this hearing was noticed on the legislature's website, www.guamlegislature.com. Written testimonies may be submitted by emailing Senator Muña Barnes at guamlegislature.org, or you may hand delivered to our office at 163 Chelan Santo Papa, Hagatna, Guam. This hearing is being conducted virtually via the Zoom meeting platform. The host will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Once recognized, we ask you to unmute yourself and to speak clearly into your mic. Should senators come on board, each will be allowed to pose a question to those testifying as needed after the panel has concluded their presentation. The items on today's agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is resolution number 206-36 LS, introduced by Tina Rose Muña Barnes, Mary Camacho Torres, Telena Cruz Nelson, Therese M. Terlaje, Amanda L. Shelton, Joe S. Agustin, Jose Pedo Terlaje, James C. Moylan, and V. Anthony Atta, relative to expressing the support of MINA'TRENTAI SAIS na LIHESLATURAN GUAHAN, the 36th Guam Legislature, for the passage of the Build Back Better framework, which would provide needed investments in the community of Guam, including parity for U.S. citizens residing in the territories through supplemental security income inclusion and expansion of Medicaid. Joining me here this morning is Mr. Tony Babalta. And that being said, we will now move on to the first item on the agenda. And I will begin by reading Vice Speaker Muña Barnes's sponsor statement. Sponsor statement by Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes. Mañana si zuus. I'd like to thank Senator Mary Torres for hosting this hearing for me, as well as my 7 colleagues who signed on to this resolution with us. A few months ago, we impaneled legal scholars, government representatives, and community stakeholders to discuss the impact of federal policies and how it has disenfranchised not only the people of Guam, but nearly 4 million Americans across the territories. I also had the honor of testifying in front of the House Committee on Natural Resources to advocate for Guam's inclusion in crucial federal programs such as SSI and parity when it comes to the applicability of Medicaid to Guam. Together, Senator Torres and I continue to advocate for the inclusion of Guam in federal programs such as supplemental security income. We wrote countless letters to Chairman Grijalva, Vice Chair Kalili Sablan, and congressional leadership. We engaged with the White House, and we reminded them that they did not have to wait for the courts to finally address the injustices of the past. It had the power to do so right now. I repeatedly requested that Congress, under its plenary powers, pass legislation that would create equity among states and territories as it relates to the application of federal programs. Congress has finally heeded to our call. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have before us the Build Back Better plan, legislation that brings Guam and our sister territories closer to parity. The Biden Build Back Better framework will extend SSI benefits to Guam and increase Medicaid funding for Guam, effectively averting the Medicaid cliff. It will also provide access to childcare, free preschool, make higher education more affordable, provide training opportunities for our people to obtain high-paying jobs, reduce the cost of housing, and cut taxes for many of our hardworking families. The Build Back Better framework is a key investment in Guam's future, furthering education, helping working families get back on their feet, and position our island for a brighter economic future. And I would like to enter the White House fact sheet on what the Build Back Better framework will deliver for Guam into the record. I would also be remiss if I did not take the time to thank a few individuals who joined Mary and I on this journey. Attorney Rod Jacob, who has passionately advocated for Leslie and Katrina Shaler, as well as Attorney Neil Weir with Equally American, who have both played a key role to tell the Guam story with us in the halls of Congress. Lastly, someone who I have the honor of working with and the privilege to call a friend, Chairman Raul Grijalva. I appreciate you taking the time to provide written testimony for this hearing at such a short notice. And as soon as my office receives it, I will ensure that it is appended to the record of this hearing and disseminate it to all my colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your continued advocacy for Guam and the territories. I thank you for your support and partnership as we truly build back better. For months, members of the Guam legislature, our governor, our delegate to Congress, and leaders from all the territories have urged congressional leadership and the Biden administration to extend access to much needed social services to the territories and end the separate but equal treatment. With a united voice, we were able to tell our story, and I am honored to have my colleagues join me as we make this final push and cross that finish line. Siju'us ma'asi. And at this time, I'd like to welcome and thank Mr. Babalta for joining us. And if you'd like to provide testimony on the resolution, you're welcome to begin, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. Buenas and half a day and good morning, members of the committee, and of course you, Madam Chair. My name is Anthony M. Babalta. I am both honored and pleased to join you this morning as the committee receives testimony on resolution number 203-36, which, if passed, would express the Guam legislature's endorsement of the Build Back Better Act, a key legislative initiative of President Joe Biden. I appear in my capacity as chairman of the Democratic Party of Guam and offer our resolute support in favor of this resolution's passage. We would like to thank the resolution's main sponsor, Vice Speaker Tina Muña Barnes, for her leadership on this issue and her consistent engagement with the U.S. Congress and the executive branch on the multitude of issues that define Guam's relationship with the federal government. We want to thank the Vice Speaker's Democratic colleagues, Speaker Terlaje and Senators Nelson, Shelton, San Agustin, and Pedo Terlaje for their co-sponsorship. Equally, the Democratic Party expresses its gratitude to minority senators and Madam Chair Camacho Torres, Senators Moylan and Ada for adding their support to this measure, which makes this effort a truly bipartisan endeavor. President Biden's Build Back Better Act proposes a once-in-a-lifetime investment for Guam, as well as our U.S. sister territories and states in our union. If passed by the U.S. Congress, Build Back Better will create new jobs at higher wages, open the doors to join the workforce, spur long-term economic growth, and reduce the cost of living for the 160,000 residents who have made Guam their home. The act also provides opportunities for our island to live a cleaner, more sustainable lifestyle, and ultimately ensures that we can do our part to combat climate change and rising sea levels. For many reasons, Guam's cost of living is high, and getting ends to meet in many households can be a month-to-month and a paycheck-to-paycheck challenge. For many households with children, whether traditional or single parent, making ends meet means taking on a second or even a third job. Studies show that even when a parent has to work more than one job, it can negatively impact the livelihoods and futures of their child. Data has further shown that 1 in 10 Asian Americans and Pacific Islander parents have had to quit, turn down, or make changes to their jobs due to disruptions to their childcare. President Biden's Build Back Better plan will ease the burden on families with investments that, if enacted, would save families thousands of dollars in childcare and preschool costs and build a strong, stable early learning system that meets the needs of families, providers, and the economy. Guam's housing costs have risen to where homeownership for most residents seem unreachable. Many factors, of course, affect the cost of homes, and apart from construction costs, one of them is supply. President Biden's Build Back Better plan will address the supply issue by enabling the construction, rehabilitation, and improvement of more than 1 million homes. This would increase the supply of housing and drive prices down. Because home ownership is a path to building wealth and a stronger middle class, we need to be extra vigilant of this program and how we get resources to build more affordable homes for our people. I'm a strong proponent of taking advantage of federal opportunities, so it's gratifying to know that on this housing issue, Vice Speaker Barnes and Senators San Agustin, Shelton, Nelson, Pedo, Terlaje, and Camacho Torres have been working with the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration to proactively engage the Department of Housing and Urban Development seeking federally designated revitalization areas on Guam. It is my understanding that based on your efforts, data has been compiled and submitted to HUD, and soon our island will learn of the success of your effort. Former President Trump's initiative, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, which remains the law of the land, made permanent corporate tax cuts and by and large has been criticized for increasing the national debt, creating greater income inequality, decreased healthcare coverage while increasing its cost, and created disproportionate impacts on states and territories. In response, as we know, former Governor Calvo signed into law a local measure increasing the island's business privilege tax an additional 1%, where it remains today. Build Back Better proposes to fund itself by not allowing large corporations to zero out their taxes and not adding additional taxes to anyone making below $400,000 a year. More importantly, it will continue providing opportunity for the middle class and for Guam. The president's plan will extend child tax credit increases of $300 per month per child under 6, or $250 per month per child ages 6 to 17. The framework will also provide a tax cut of up to $1,500 in tax cuts for low-wage workers in Guam by extending the American Rescue Plan's earned income tax credit expansion. To keep higher education within reach for our young adults, Build Back Better will increase Pell Grants for nearly 3,000 students on Guam who currently benefit from the program. It is our hope that with this added relief, we can find ways to unlock further access to education beyond high school for all of our graduating students. From my perspective of working on Capitol Hill, the Obama administration and as Governor Leon Guerrero's former chief of staff, I understand the many years of work that went towards telling Guam's story as it relates to Guam and her sister territories, treatment under the federal program of Medicaid, which was always underfunded and unfairly applied, and supplemental security income, which among the territories was only accessible to the Northern Mariana Islands. Governors and delegates, both past and present from all of our territories, no matter the political party, have fought to increase Medicaid allotments and the federal match, which was first enacted under Obamacare. And subsequently, those increased benefits needed to be defended and extended since then. Similarly, extending the federal benefits to aged, blind, and disabled adults and children under the SSI program to US citizens in US territories is long overdue. President Biden's plan takes the historical step of making federal dollars available for some of our most challenged residents and allowing those families who had no other choice but to move away from Guam for SSI benefits to return home and be surrounded by loved ones once again. The president's plan also walks back every territory from the Medicaid cliff and provides Guam $140 million while reducing our matching requirement. This will expand healthcare access to our residents and unburden our local dollars so that we can make investments elsewhere for the benefit of our island's progress. Again, these two issues have been championed by our elected leaders for decades, and the story has been repeated year after year, and the argument made from administration to administration and from one Congress to the next. If passed, we thank all elected leaders from years past to the present, no matter the party. And we should remember our past leaders because they championed the cause term after term. And for those in office today, to include members of this body, we thank you for seizing the opportunity that President Biden's Build Back Better plan holds for the country and most especially for Guam. This is truly a once in a lifetime opportunity for the country and our island to build back better. Finally, I encourage the committee to amend the resolution's final resolved clause to include minority leaders from both the US House and Senate. The Democratic Party of Guam recognizes that your effort is bipartisan, and national leaders from the Republican Party should know that Guam's elected Republicans are unequivocally in favor of Build Back Better's enactment before the end of this year. We look forward to the committee moving forward with this measure and for its final approval by the entire body. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity and for the consideration of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Babalta. We appreciate you also giving the breadth of what the Build Back Better framework entails. I think it's important that people understand its far-reaching impact and how it especially has benefits to the most vulnerable people in our community at this point, or in the marginalized. So we appreciate that. We also take note of your recommendation to amend the resolutions portion of the resolution, the resolved portion of the resolution, to include minority leaders in the distribution of the copies of this resolution, should it pass. So that will be noted and taken into account.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay. At this point, I would like to end by expressing our Sizuas Ma'asitu for coming to testify at this public hearing on resolution number 203-36, introduced by Tina Rose Muña Barnes, myself, Mary Camacho Torres, Telena Cruz Nelson, Therese Terlaje, Amanda L. Shelton, Joe S. Agustin, Jose Pedo Terlaje, James C. Moylan, and V. Anthony Ada, relative to expressing the support of MINA'TRENTAI SAIS na LIHESLATURAN GUAHAN for the passage of Build Back Better framework, which would provide needed investments in the community of Guam, including parity for U.S. citizens residing in the territories through supplemental security income inclusion and expansion of Medicaid. This resolution has been duly heard, and I am now calling this public hearing adjourned. The time now is 8:20 a.m. Any individuals who wish to submit testimony may do so by emailing it to Senator Muña Barnes at guamlegislature.org, or you may send or hand deliver it to 163 Chalan Santo Papa, Hagatna, Guam 96910. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Mr. Babalta for attending, and Senator Nelson, I saw that you were on briefly. Sizuas Masi, and have a great day and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Sizuas Masi, Hagumas, and happy Thanksgiving, Madam Chair.
Happy Thanksgiving. All right. Thank you.